Hey, this is Dave Spitz at Cal Strength. Today we're going to be talking about where the bar makes contact with the body in both the snatch and the clean. Before we take that deep dive into this discussion, we're going to need to review the 4 domains of technique that we talk about here at Cal Strength. So, positions, tension, timing, and tempo. Those 4 areas we'll have a quick discussion about, and then we can talk about how to make you a more efficient weightlifter by understanding where and why to make contact with the bar in these movements. If you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and if you want to continue the discussion, go ahead and pop it in the comments section. Any questions you have, and we'll try and get to you and continue the dialogue. So thanks for watching, and let's get started. So in the snatch, we want to make contact above the pubis and below the hip bone. So essentially, if you imagine the body as a lever, we want to make contact as close to the fulcrum of that lever as possible. Okay, so why the snatch and clean need to make contact at different points on the body is because of length, load, and outcome. So the length of the snatch is going to be significantly longer in terms of the length of the pull than the clean. The load is going to be substantially lighter, so somewhere between 80 and 85% of your best clean. And the outcome in the snatch is going to be different because all we're really focused on is stability. We don't really care about catching any sort of bounce or any sort of stretch shortening cycle to make an efficient squat recovery like in the clean. So length, load, and outcome will dictate the differences in the pull, and the differences in the pull will ultimately reflect where the bar makes contact in the body. So how do you make contact at that proper position in the hip? Well, we need to go back to the 4 domains of technique, starting with position. So position, not only where you are at the power position, but where you start from. So keeping your back angle as flat as possible in the start is a really important first step. And as you assign those angles and address the bar, keeping the pressure back on the foot, so somewhere over the ankle. And as you initiate the pull, thinking about a leg press, pushing the platform away from you so that the bar continues to rise up and into your body. And so as you continue to push with the legs above the knee, the shoulders will remain in advance of the bar, the weight should stay back on the foot, and the bar will come into the body as you keep pushing with the legs, making that contact point right at the hip. So one of the most common errors in the snatch that we see that causes a lot of problems is bringing the bar in too low. So if you make contact too low, you can definitely get bruised, and it can be a very painful sensation. So making sure that you don't do that by staying over the bar and keeping the arms long and passive. So tension is going to always affect where the bar makes contact. So if you can just focus on keeping the pressure back on the foot, that'll allow you to keep your arms nice and passive. The second the weight shifts forward to the ball of the foot, that's when the arms will engage. The shoulders will then farm for more tension by going behind the barbell, and you'll make contact low, and it'll be a painful, ineffective pull. So making sure that tension is assigned correctly from the floor is also important. So not only do the positions need to be correct, but as you assign tension, you need to think about a 360-degree brace from your core to your lumbar. The tension in the upper back needs to be assigned by pulling the subscap down, engaging the lats so that you maintain that rigid thoracic and allow you to relax the arms. So in the snatch, timing and tempo are interrelated. So the timing referring to what point you start pushing with the legs from the floor. The tempo is going to refer to the pace that bar ultimately arrives at the hip. So making sure that you use a tempo that's appropriate for you to use the legs long enough so that the bar makes contact at the right point in the hip. So understanding those core concepts of positions, tension, timing, and tempo are going to help you create that ideal contact point in both the snatch and the clean. So the clean contact point, because we have a substantially shorter movement, somewhere around 80% of the length of the snatch, and because we have a narrower grip width, the contact point should be as low as you can possibly execute a good vertical pull. So making sure that the shoulders stay on top of the barbell and bringing the bar in somewhere around mid-thigh is optimum for most people. So we bring the bar in lower in the clean because the length of the pull is not quite as long. So we have about 80% of the distance to cover. The load is going to be significantly heavier, so somewhere around 120% of what we snatch. So you've got heavier weight, and the outcome is going to be different in that we really need to set up an efficient squat recovery. So being able to time things so that you meet the bar, absorb the force efficiently, and then use that stretch shortening cycle to create a really efficient, fast squat recovery so that you have reserve left over to jerk.
Bring it in. Come on now.
Come on, Wes.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the clean, in order to make that contact point happen at mid-thigh, the setup needs to be correct. You need to have a steeper back angle than the snatch. So more vertical assignment of your back. We also need to make sure that the shoulders stay on top of the barbell so that you can push with the legs and maintain that posture. Also making sure tension is assigned correctly. So feeling the core brace just like in the snatch, but as you push, you're going to feel a lot of the tension in the quads. That initial lift is just going to be really leg dominant, whereas in the snatch, you're going to have more of that isometric, static type sensation in the lower back as you push from the ground because you're so far over the bar. So tempo is going to be a little faster, a little more aggressive than in the snatch. And then the timing aspect, as you allow the bar to rise out of the power position, externally rotating from the shoulder and meeting the bar at somewhere around that half squat position so that you can absorb the force correctly, turn that squat around, and make a very efficient lift. All right, so to summarize, contact point in the snatch needs to be up in the hip, right? Above the pubis, below the hip bone. That wider grip is going to facilitate that. The clean, we need to make contact lower on the thigh. So as low as you can effectively create the right position. And it needs to be that way because of the length of the pull, the load that we're using, and the desired outcome. And in review, the positions, the tension, the timing, and the tempo aspect of the movement are going to help you create those perfect contact points in both movements. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful.